probably sounded a little intense when I answered that last question. It's just, I am a person who just talks directly, and I'm not angry, I'm just intense, so don't hold that against me. Here's an Arizona highways. What's one of the things they discussed in this? The arts community in Sedona. There was, and I lost it, but there was an ad last week in the Arizona Republic. I'm not sure, I'm assuming it was the chamber that put the ad in, but it did not say who paid for it. But one of the things they discussed was the art community in Sedona. So this is an integral part of our lives here. And I do believe that we should have street performers. And I will tell you about the sound ordinance, and I know people might get a little shaky about this. We lost an inspector a few years ago for early retirement, and he was the one who took this, was the sound ordinance man. After that, they didn't have anybody. So if there was a complaint, the police just came out and tried to shut down whatever venue it was for music. They never did any sounding or anything like that. It was just whoever was playing, it was their fault, that's it, shut down. And I would really like to have some live music in Sedona. And I'd also like to see the city not always close down at 10 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night maybe. You know, I'd like to see some activity. And these are things that the Arts Commission were doing, and I would love to see them again do these kind of things. So that's where I'm at. And like I said, I could have answered all 5 of these questions just with bringing back the Arts Commission. Thank you very much, and I would love you to vote for me. Thank you.
As I stated in my last answer, I believe that the arts are integral to the community. What contributions do they make? It brings to life all of the senses. You see the art and can touch it. You bring it to life through voice or instruments. You can actually taste it and smell it in the art of cooking. It is present daily in our lives, and when it is missing, our lives are diminished. I also previously mentioned the economic aspects and its contribution there. So I think the open question is, how would I support community-wide arts education and engagement? First, I would encourage that the artists in Sedona have some way to communicate their thoughts and ideas and any potential issues that affect them. We heard a lot about the commissions that apparently we must have never had because there's something everybody wants to put together. Quite honestly, I went to the first city meeting that I attended, they dissolved all of the commissions. And I thought, well, that was a mistake. And now here we are saying, let's bring them all back. So I would say we need to look at some way for people to have a venue to get themselves represented. So it should be composed of a group that was representative of all the artists, written, spoken, painted, sculpted, song, you get the idea. It would need to include individual artists as well as co-ops and galleries which may have slightly differing needs. The needs and issues that emerged should be presented to the city for consideration. If it came in the form of a plan or in a priority sequence, it would be even better. This would establish the base case as well as allow for other thoughts as the best way to meet the needs. It would certainly educate Sedona citywide. Right now, I cannot say how the city knows what the art community is thinking. Those close to it are aware, but others may wonder what's happening. I was at the Chamber of Commerce today, and there was very little in the way of information that I could find on what was happening in the art world in Sedona. A few galleries' brochures were displayed, and brochures from the Sedona Visual Arts Coalition and the Sedona Arts Center were there. But I wondered, where would a tourist go who wanted to experience the offerings available in art in the world of Sedona and find a list of current classes that are being held or events taking place that day? Secondly, we could speak to our local schools in NAU and Yavapai and talk about the possibility of having professional artists visit as guest speakers or lecturers. Artists could host students back at their studios to be mentored and receive college credit for real-life experience. This would not only bring potential revenue to Sedona, but also possible graduates who were committed to becoming professional artists in Sedona as a result of such interaction. Thirdly, it would be worth exploring how other cities the size of Sedona have been successful in creating incubator studios. Perhaps unoccupied space could be utilized for a month or two as places for artists to display their work and try their hand at their art and discover a market for it. This might ultimately include the establishment of a permanent location for this should it take off. The city could work with the artists to plan activities for Arts in the Parks as a single event or as an adjunct to other events allowing exposure to residents at large. You could marry high-tech art to use 3D printers to create various works of art in experimental ways. These are just a few thoughts. I'm willing to work with the artists, but I need the artists to help me take this first step. Elect me and we will paint a political canvas worthy of the public stage.
The arts have been an important part of community life in Sedona for the entire 42 years I've lived here, and actually even before that. The Art Barn, now known as the Sedona Arts Center, has always been an arts hub for Sedona, offering classes, plays, gallery exhibits, and music performances. For me, the arts contribute greatly to all our lives. Although they are often viewed as frills in our educational system and are nearly always the first thing to get cut in a budget crisis, I believe that this should rarely be the case. I don't see them as an adjunct to a child's education. I believe they're an integral part of any society, and that they illuminate and enrich our lives. Indeed, science is beginning to prove how they can impact brain functioning. Ani Patel, an associate professor of psychology at Tufts University, and the author of the book Music, Language, and the Brain, says there is a growing body of work that suggests that learning to play a musical instrument does have impacts on other abilities. These include speech perception, the ability to understand emotions in the voice, and multitasking. The city can be rightly proud of the Artist in the Classroom program it funds, bringing local artists of all sorts into the lives of Sedona students. City Hall exhibited some wonderful art on its campus, and I recently spoke with the Arts and Culture Coordinator about the possibility of a campus-wide art exhibit at City Hall on maybe a Saturday and a Sunday, with all types of art in lots of the city offices and performances in the courtyard. The city now has an opportunity to expand arts education, offerings in collaboration with Yavapai College, and perhaps in places like the newly acquired Brewer Road property, by including small performance venues and green park settings for participatory art experiences. The Film Festival is a good example of what an arts event can do for Sedona. It brings tourists to town in the off-season for its annual festival, a festival which many locals attend as well. And it provides year-round benefits to residents and tourists with what has become a constant supply of independent film. You don't see that in so many small towns. We're very lucky. Let's make it a bit easier for arts events such as open studios, which only happens a few times a year, and for pop-up galleries and venues for other art events on a limited scale. After all, the concept of animated by the arts is really a thrilling one. What comes to your mind when you hear that phrase? As an artist, how would you envision animating the community with your art? Let's look at the possibilities and make it possible for them to happen. Wouldn't it be great to have our visitors go back home with wonderful memories because of an unexpected art encounter in Sedona? Let's make the arts more accessible to everyone. Thank you. And thank you all for coming today, and to the committee for putting on the forum.
I can answer each part of this question pretty quickly. The arts are absolutely woven entirely within our community and couldn't be separated from it. Meaningful contributions made by the arts include the annual film festival and the Illuminate Film Festival, the Artist in the Classroom program, the Sedona Arts Center's classes, the Loving Bowls, the Chamber Music Sedona concerts and their workshops with the schools, just to name a few. I would support them financially as necessary, but also make sure that the people who make them happen, from the organization staffers to the countless volunteers, know how much they are appreciated for their richness that they bring to Sedona life. Because if they tire of the hard work and sacrifice, we could easily lose something precious to all of us. Now, I want to relate a personal example of this. My wife, Felicia, has some artistic talent and a college degree in art for elementary education. She has taken many classes at the Sedona Arts Center. At one of them, she met Joni Walter, whom most of you know is an accomplished sculptor. Joni opened her studio to Felicia on a drop-in basis and taught her the techniques and tricks of fiber clay sculpting, which has resulted in many hours of enjoyment for Felicia and a display case in our home filled with horses, coyotes, birds, and other local animal sculptures, as well as a couple granddaughter-inspired ballerinas like the one on the table in the lobby. Joni gives freely of her time as a teacher in many other ways as well. Why does she, and why do so many other practicing artists in our community do such things? Why, in general, is there so much volunteerism here? Clearly, there is a contagious spirit among us that drives us away from ourselves and toward each other. In the formula for community spirit, sharing is the multiplier. We must never lose that spirit. And in that spirit, I'd like to close this evening by sharing some art of my own. A blank verse sonnet I wrote after seeing the Kissing Rocks formation of Schnebly Hill Road for the first time. Kissing Rocks, Sedona. These rocks were always kissing. Long before a billion suns and moons caressed their shoulders with rays and shadows, long before billions more drops of rain and wisps of wind unclothed them, even before the oceans came and went, and steaming magma shook and shoved beneath them, they held their pose. One pressing slightly forward, the other softly yielding and receiving. And now we take our turn. We point and say, oh look, they're kissing, as if they mimicked us, as if we were the first to show devotion or love eternally, as if these rocks would care that humans raced beneath them, paused, sensed something like forever, and then left. Thank you all very much.